Hello, welcome to AB Lifetime channel on transpersonal psychology. Our topic today is healing trauma with therapeutic spiral model. Interview with Dr. Hudgins. Kate, hello and welcome to AB Lifetime. New online educational project alert. If you learn psychodrama and you like to learn it online with pre-recorded videos format, please check actionexplorations.education in December 2020. At that moment, there will be the first programs. Please see the detailed information in the announcement at the end of this video.
People had said, oh, you can't research psychodrama, you can't research psychodrama. Well, my clinical psychology professor said, yes, you can. Like, I'm a city girl, what am I doing carrying these logs in the middle of the night, right? In just 3 sessions, you had decreases in anxiety, depression, and symptoms of PTSD.
Thank you for doing this interview.
Thank you, Anna. This is an exciting thing. I'm very impressed with all of your work that you've produced so far. I said that I felt like I was coming to do an archival video about the therapeutic spiral model. That it's part of a psychodrama library that you're creating. And so I really thank you for that, for me, and for all the psychodramatists that you've done this work for. Yeah, it's really important.
Thank you so much. And just a little prehistory. So originally we planned this interview with Kate, I think in November 2019. And then I was traveling, Kate was traveling, and then we postponed, and then COVID started. So it's the interview which I waited like long time. So finally we're doing that. Thank you. Okay, Kate, just to start with, could you please say the history of TSM, like tell more about that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I want to start out just by talking about the fact that Dr. Stephen Durst and I are publishing a brand new book on TSM psychodrama. And the brand new book is going to be called TSM Psychodrama, Experiential Therapy from Trauma to Post-Traumatic Growth. And that's helped me really focus on all the questions that you asked. Yeah, so the history I have down like pretty quick. So the history of TSM actually started when I was a student studying classical psychodrama at St. Elizabeth's Hospital. So I was one of those fortunate people that got the chance to go through the 1-year training program, living, breathing, eating psychodrama 24 hours a day. I mean, I even lived on the campus of St. Elizabeth's. You know, so it was just like I was imbued with psychodrama, like people that would live at Beacon, you know, for a year.
Yes.
So, you know, so it was an amazing time of growth. And at the end of that, that training, this was 1982, I was in 1981. Like PTSD had never even been diagnosed yet. Like it didn't get into the psychiatric diagnostic manual until 1987. Nobody even knew what PTSD was before 1987. And so I was directing a psychodrama where somebody who was a Vietnam vet went into a flashback. And I had never really seen a flashback. Like, you know, I was pretty naive as a young clinician. And I looked at my supervisor and I said, what do I do? And she said, you direct the drama. And so I directed the drama where this man went into his flashback, into this psychotic moment of going to Vietnam where he was, you know, he remembered killing women and children. And it was an amazing psychodrama that the whole group, the whole community came together to support him. We had a pastoral counselor that was part of the group. And that now is where I know the moment of TSM began, because I didn't know that man had PTSD. Only later did I understand what happened there. And so the second part of the history of TSM is from 1992 to 1995, we had a small group, 12 women actually, that decided that we were going to follow Moreno's mandate to, take psychodrama to be a therapeutic method for everybody, for all of humankind. And we decided we were going to take it to trauma survivors. And so from 1992 to 1995, we kept doing classical psychodrama, but finding out how do we need to adjust it clinically? Because we were all PhDs or master's levels in counseling, social work. We were well trained clinically too. So that was the second stage. The third stage was when Zerka Moreno gave me the plans to build a psychodrama theater called the Psychodrama Theater of Protection in Black Earth, Wisconsin. And for 7 years, Zerka came every year and did a workshop. She supported the therapeutic spiral model from the very beginning. Anytime anybody would ask her, well, why do you support Kate, talking about psychodrama differently? She said, I always told JL it needed to be more contained. And that was always her answer. So she always supported TSM. She supported it around the world for me. But it began there when we did a psychodrama theater together. And TSM lived, breathed, and ate psychodrama for 7 years. And we also had a Mohawk teacher who came for those same 7 years. And during that time, every single psychodrama workshop that we did there, this Mohawk teacher was there. And I mean, I was like 31, 32, 33 at the time, something. I mean, we did 3 psychodramas a day. We had a sweat lodge every night. We went out into the woods and we prayed and we learned native traditions, and it was amazing. I mean, it was an amazing time. And every single day, 24 hours a day, we would have to be bringing wood to feed a spirit fire, a native tradition, a spirit fire 24 hours a day. And I'm like going, I'm a city girl. What am I doing carrying these logs in the middle of the night, right? But it embedded, between Zerka and this Mohawk teacher, it embedded the concept that we have this well of spontaneity, we have this autonomous healing center, we have this spiritual place inside of us that's always there to be accessed. And so that was really those were the first boom moments.
And could you please tell a little bit more about, expand your story?
So, a little group of certified psychodramatists decided we would make psychodrama safe for the most vulnerable people around the world. Zerka Moreno and this Mohawk teacher influenced us in the very beginning that we had to have a spiritual connection. And then what Francesca Toscani, who was really the co-author, the co-creator of the therapeutic spiral model from day one, she and I decided we need to move out of the United States. So let's start presenting this at international conferences. So in 1995, we were presented at the Australian Psychodrama Association from Australia and New Zealand. Francesca took a different team. We were learning to work with teams that early on. She took a different team to go to Israel. And we were on our way to, at this point, I personally have taken TSM to 42 countries around the world. 42 countries. Some have only just been a one-off conference, but they've adopted our international certification program. They've studied for years. In TSM, they've embedded it into their classical psychodrama training. So myself, 42 countries. You add Mario Cosa, you add Stephen Durst, you add Karen Drucker, you add the people that were there in the beginning. TSM has been probably to 60, 70 countries. And so this huge international expansion. But the thing about that was it was always you kind of got dropped into, I thought about it like as a helicopter trainer. Somebody called me a helicopter trainer. So a helicopter trainer, you drop into where you are. So I might drop into China, I might drop into Taiwan, I might drop into Israel, I might drop into, wherever, Croatia,
and then they develop themselves. Mm-hmm.
They developed themselves, but they were always mostly single groups, right? Homogeneous groups.
Uh-huh.
So the fourth stage of TSM has become Zoom, because Zoom has allowed us to now do international multicultural groups.
Yeah.
So it's no longer, oh, I'm just in Japan, or I'm just in Germany, you know, but now all our groups are international. And we have been like called to the forefront of our spontaneity and our creativity to do the work on Zoom, and we actually love it. We're some of the few people we hear that say like, it's a more creative phenomenon. Like it's better, you reach more people, you have different influences, you have more spontaneity, it's wonderful. So we see that now as kind of the fourth stage. So that's you know, that's how we started, from a group of 12 certified American psychodramatists to an international worldwide community that we now have, you know, hundreds and thousands of people connected, certified around the world.
Wow. Wow, that's wonderful. Could you please tell about the research on TSM? Oh, that's my favorite question.
The first research on TSM was when I personally won the American Psychological Association's Graduate Student Award for research, and it in 1986, and it was research on the psychodramatic double. People had said, oh, you can't research psychodrama, you can't research psychodrama. Well, my clinical psychology professor said, yes, you can. It just has to be operationalized. And so I won a nationwide award for my research in doubling. So that's really where it started.
Wow. So was it was time when you did your PhD? Or?
Yep, when I was doing my PhD. Yep, and that was where I was connected with these experiential psychologists that kept saying, put it into psychology, put it into psychology. There's a huge research base here. You know, don't just look to psychodrama.
I see.
Okay, so one thing about TSM that has always been true is I've always embedded it in clinical psychology research on experiential psychology, experiential psychotherapy. Okay, those words have been in the psychological realm as a clinical psychologist since 1998. In 1998, there was a meta-study by Les Greenberg that looked at all the experiential studies on anything like Gestalt therapy, the few on psychodrama, but he looked at all of those, and he proved in 1998 that experiential psychotherapy was equal to cognitive behavioral therapy and psychodynamic therapy, and then Robert Elliott, an American psychologist, showed that it was in fact better for trauma. So what happened between 1998 and now is that in psychology there has been solid research always about the benefits of experiential psychotherapy. But what's happened is psychodrama and other experiential methods didn't embed themselves in the richness of the clinical psychology. And so we did that, and we did it through a little bit of research, and we did it theoretically, always putting it into the psychology research as our first strata. But then we did a little research of our own. I actually met Bessel van der Kolk and had lunch with him at the 1995, 1996 ASGPP, whatever it was, where he was a keynote speaker. And I talked about how we'd already started forming the therapeutic spiral at that point, 1992 to 1995, about making psychodrama more contained. And I told him about the containing double, a modification we made to make doubling safer, not expressive, but supportive. And he said, research it. And so I did. I only did 2 studies. There are 2 studies, one in 1998 with myself and Karen Drucker and Kathy Metcalf, all TEPs. And then in 2000, Karen Drucker and myself, a study. But we showed that in just 3 sessions of using the containing double, and the way we researched it quantitatively, not qualitatively. It was a quantitative study. That in just 3 sessions, you had decreases in anxiety, depression, and symptoms of PTSD. So you know, along the way, we've done some other studies. We've shown it's effective in a 3-day group with female PTSD survivors from Iraq and Iran. We've done a study for an 8-day leadership course showing, again, all of them show decreases in anxiety, depression, and PTSD symptoms. And then most recently, Scott Giacomucci has done a study by himself, and I think it's, let me find the correct name, Joshua Marquette, the effectiveness of trauma-focused psychotherapy in the treatment of PTSD in inpatient substance abuse treatment. And he included the therapeutic spiral model there, which he's trained in, as one of the models that he used to make up his personal model of psychodrama for the inpatient program. And it shows that system where he did Tion Dayton's relational therapy and TSM and his own model, that there was actually a 25% decrease in PTSD symptoms for people that took the psychodrama program, which was only like 5 sessions. So that's the research.
Could you please tell about the 3 books?
Yes, so in 2002, I actually published with the support of Francesca Toscani and a whole group of that initial certified psychodramatist group from 1992 to 95, a book that was the seminal book on experiential therapy in psychodrama. It was called Experiential Treatment of PTSD, the Therapeutic Spiral Model. And it was the first book that ever focused specifically an entire book of psychodrama on post-traumatic stress. And it was the first book that in 1992 we had changed it from an interpersonal model of looking at interpersonal relationships to an interpersonal model of looking at parts of self. And so it was kind of, you know, a groundbreaking book, although not well recognized, but it also paralleled the developments that were showing up in neurobiology. So in 1996, the first study was published looking at the brain when it was traumatized. And it validated, it confirmed what we saw clinically in our first book. So then the second book was a book called Action Against Trauma. And it was a trainer's manual for people after 9/11 that was funded by the University of Virginia's Department of Humanities. That it was an 8-day trainer's manual for people, lay people, nurses, pastors, social workers, educators, lay, volunteers. It was a trainer's manual that they went through for 8 days, and then it went on to become another book that is accessible for free. Then the third book was a book in 2013, the last book Francesca and I put together. Francesca Toscani has always been the co-creator of TSM with me, always. But she retired 10 years ago or so, I eked one little last book out of her, and it was called 2013 Hudgins and Toscani, Healing World Trauma with the Therapeutic Spiral Model, Stories from the Front Line, and it has 14 chapters from people around the world about how they've used TSM in different settings. Domestic violence, working with perpetrators, working in community, combining it with art therapy, working in individual therapy, working in family therapy. It's an amazing book of different applications of TSM. And I already told you about the new book that hopefully will be out 2021. TSM Psychodrama, Experiential Therapy from Trauma to Post-Traumatic Growth. That we hope is our 4th book with Stephen Durst. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And I'll ask Kate to, as soon as the book is released, so she could give the link, and again, it will be underneath the video. I've been doing these interviews on psychodrama project for 2 years, and I realized that there is a big field not covered of online education in action explorations and specifically in psychodrama. So I've been thinking about this, and I started to work on that almost a year ago. And now I'm coming up with a project. In December, first 5 programs should be on website actionexplorations.education. International trainers on different languages would be introduced on this portal. All programs are pre-recorded. All programs have the part with lectures, the part with case, and the part with evaluation. So you can get certificate at the end, and you can use your hours for your continuum education, for certification with your boards. If the programs will be in English, I'm talking right now to translate them to Russian, Korean, Spanish, and Portuguese. International trainers would be presented there. At this moment, I mostly work with American trainers, but later I am looking forward to work with international trainers. First 2 modules with Kate Hudgins are coming in December, so you can see them in December, already available on actionexplorations.education. And we are planning to do much more TSM modules also, not just 2 with Kate Hudgins. With Kate, we plan to do 2 in December, and then another 2 in January, and I think up to 10 only with her, and then with another trainers too. Guys, I'm looking forward to hear your feedback, and I'm looking forward for co-creation with students and with trainers, and just make psychodrama more available online. I also looking forward for the programs which would be not to for psychodramatists or people who are using action exploration methods in their work, but for just regular people, how to use psychodrama in their life, how to improve the life quality with action explorations.